Also already seen the last 10 minutes of Fantastic Four with Robert Downey Jr. in it and everything.
I heard there's a lot of stuff going on with that Robert Downey Jr. scene of lots and lots of stuff. Like
Yeah. Not to mention you know,
Oh, you mean when someone shows up?
yeah, but
we'll
we're
get to
talking
spoilers here in a minute.
we're talking baseball this week. We talked 28 inches last week, so I say we just get ready
Dive
to
right in.
getting on. And why wait? Why is there a Running Man remake? Because the original was so awesome.
Because the original was based off a book by Stephen King, and they're doing it more off the book than they are off the Darning verse.
And we're doing dinosaurs next week, so
Look, Zach's already listened to watching Jurassic. Oh, Jose, can you see?
You like that, old man? You want a piece of me?
Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?
Good morning, Vietnam! I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
I feel the need for speed.
I wish I knew how to quit you.
Love means never having to say you're sorry.
You do? You'll shoot your eye out, kid.
What up, film fans? Happy Tippy Top Tuesday. Welcome to episode 355. Welcome to Angels in the Outfield. You're listening to a new episode of the Cine-Men Movie Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Juan. I am joined by the other Angels, Zach.
sure. Yeah, we can call each other angels, sure.
Jay.
Sure, as I sat here and take a sip of some watermelon pucker. I know I sound like a wussy, but some Johnny Bootlegger. I'm having a cheap bottle to kind of perk me up during the episode today. So yeah, that's how much of an angel I am.
You don't need no perking up. So anyway, I hope everybody had a great weekend. A great week is getting ready to start here at the podcast. A great month. This month is so jam-packed.
It's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. It's almost like 5 weeks, 5 movies, and it still feels like we're missing movies like Megan 2.0, F1.
No, we don't.
There's
I've seen the trailer to Megan 2.0. I've seen enough. That was plenty.
You know what? I'm tired of all the bash that Megan has been getting because Megan, the first movie is just a fun, go in there, don't think
Child's
about
Play ripoff.
anything. Not even a Child's Play ripoff. Don't even think about anything and just go in there and have fun. So,
Yeah, your back tattoo would support that theory. So
my
I know,
back
right?
tattoo.
for
I know.
Megan 2.0.
Just wait till they get the 3.0, and he's going to be really screwed because they made her taller.
Yeah. What about you guys? You guys have a good week?
Not bad, not bad.
Yeah, I can't even believe we're July 1st. Like, where did all that time go? Honestly,
Where did all that time go? If you guys did not check us out last week, hang out with us again. Go back in the archives and check out all of our stuff, all of our past episodes. Last week we talked all about 28 years later. A very, very fun conversation. So go back, check it out. All the links to our past episodes are all over our social media pages. Facebook.com/The Cine-Men Movie Podcast. Instagram is all one word / The Cine-Men Movie Podcast. X, formerly known as the Twitter, is at Cinnamon405. And you can send us a few emails, cinnamon921@gmail.com. I will read a few emails today because there were some people that emailed us about what should replace I Know What You Did Last Summer. So that should be fun. Even though I am dead serious. I am headstrong about I Know What You Did Last Summer and Jennifer Love Hewitt and Freddie Prinze Jr.
After seeing the last trailer, I was more like, it's the same. I don't really care. I was cool with I Know What You Did Last Summer growing up, but it's one of those that I can go either way with it.
Yeah, if I'm stuttering or if I'm a little discombobulated today, I have the worst headache known to man. So, yeah, I almost did this episode with no screen, no light on in the back because my light sensitivity right now is just insane. But where
Well,
there's a
Look at
will,
you
there's a
giving.
way.
you can go cameraless if you want.
Look at you
Oh,
giving to your audience.
hey, it's been 2 weeks. It's a Matthew McConaughey kind of week. Even though
He
he's
was in
only
this way more in this than I thought.
in this movie for a cup of coffee. Um,
He
so
actually had a story arc in the movie,
he
which was
did, and we'll get to it.
and that was weird.
But until we can get to it, until we can keep on keeping on, there's that man right there. Look at we're just 54 days away from college football anyway. So
Oh, he's
Everybody,
counting down the days.
everybody, don't forget whenever you go to Texas Stadium, don't forget to take a picture with the bronze statue of #1 Texas fan Matthew McConaughey.
also speaking of cheap plug, the 89-cent Big Gulp at 7-Eleven. You guys
Any
should
size.
any size. You guys should check them out. 7-Eleven, an unofficial sponsor of the Cinnamon Movie Podcast. Because we got to keep our whistle wet, right, Zach?
Absolutely.
But speaking of that, I just got done talking about being porched. It is hot outside. It's summertime. Let's get into some recent watches. Zach, do you want to go first?
We need to start having like a heavy metal theme for like each segment transfer. Like recent watches.
We did at one point actually have that. Not so
We
much
did.
for recent watches, for other things.
We did. Whenever we had this, I still have the soundboard and everything, but
Yeah, I only have three main things. I did go see Megan 2.0, and I will say I'm going to be one of the haters. It's one of the worst movies of the year for me.
It's a movie, huh?
I fell asleep twice in it, if that tells you anything.
Well, if that's any indicator, then Sinners was boring as hell to me because I went to see that movie 3 times and fell asleep all 3 times.
Sir, I'm going to need you to exit stage left, if you will. And yeah.
I knew that'd get you.
On the opposite side of the spectrum, F1, guys, you've got to go see this in IMAX. And I will say, I'll be one of the emailers to say, hey, you need to review F1 instead of I Know What You Did Last Summer.
I second that. I'm going to second that. I'm just going to go ahead and throw that out there so that continue. Even though it might be late after release, it's still discussed because it's already made $145 million worldwide.
It won the weekend, which really surprises me, honestly, but it's a damn good movie.
Do you think it'll still be in theaters by then?
Oh, yeah. I know we got Jurassic World and Superman before you guys do that episode, but it'll still be in the theater. I think it still has. I think it has legs for a couple weeks. And then, Johnny, you excited? The Bear season 4 is out on Hulu. Have you started it yet?
Did
you binge watch it?
I was so excited, right? I got my little Cheez-Its, I got my drink, I turned it on, and then life hit me in the face and said Hulu has not been updated for your payment yet.
Oh no.
I was like, why? I was like, why is this happening to me?
I'll just say I'm 4 episodes in, and it's better than season 3. It's so good.
I want to even add to the conversation real quick. About a week or two ago, I sat down and watched the first about 10 or 15 minutes of the first episode of the movie just to see what it was about. But I was getting very anxious, and I get real anxious when I start watching something, and I got too hyper focused elsewhere, and I haven't went back to it yet.
Oh, that's a show that'll keep you hyper anxious through the entire thing because it's just it's not so much like what the suspense of what's happening, but it's just like the intense situation of being in the kitchen and just people that demand perfection. It's that type of thing, and it's incredible performances. You have some awesome cameos throughout the series. My recent watchers recommend The Bear on Hulu and go check out F1. What about you guys?
Jay?
I have also seen F1. I didn't see F1 the way it's intended to be seen. If that's indicator, everybody knows that listens. I tend to stream things occasionally, but I do have a movie pass, and I do expect to go see this in theaters. But visually, the movie is absolutely stunning. Story-wise, I'd probably give it about a 3.5. But overall, I probably, it's a solid movie. We'll definitely have legs in 2 weeks if we decide to talk about it.
Yeah. And worst case scenario, we could probably do a Blu-ray release when it hits later this year. But
Um,
what about you, Johnny?
And
I'll go through mine real quick. I went through all of the Jurassic Park movies again, all 6.
Oh,
Um,
I
I
did that about a couple. I did that about a couple months ago. They got
I
some
think
fun.
I think that's it because I talked to you guys about Jaws last week. I started The Patriot this week, but I did not finish it. So and then I watched Angels in the Outfield today. So yeah.
I will add some of my recent watches have been Bigfoot videos. They're AI videos. If you haven't seen them, go out your way to find them on. I found them on Facebook, but I guess they're TikTok, whatever thing. They're absolutely hilarious. It's Bigfoot and the Yeti doing fun things. Awesome. So I spent a day doing that. That tells you how sometimes my brain just gets so like laser focused that I have to watch an entire group of everything in one day.
Let's dig into today's episode. Today we are talking all about Angels in the Outfield. With an IMDb rating of 6.2, Rotten Tomato score of 31%, a Metascore of 44%, while on the Letterboxd it's at a 3.0, with a July 15th, 1994 release date. The budget was $31 million and it grossed a little over $50 million in the box office. When a young boy prays for a chance to have a family, if the California Angels win the pennant, angels are assigned to make that possible. Starring Danny Glover, Brenda Fricker, Tony Danza, Christopher Lloyd, Ben Johnson, J.O. Sanders, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Tony Longo, Neil McDowell, Adrian Brody, Matthew McConaughey, Dermot uh,
Dermot Mulroney.
there you
Yeah.
go. He has such a cop name. And then directed by William Deere. This movie is currently streaming on Hulu, Disney Plus, or you can check it out. It hasn't got a Blu-ray release, but I did find it on DVD. So let's all right.
And what I noticed from your DVD, it's not anamorphically set up for a big screen TV.
It is not. It is not anamorphed yet. So let's dig into it. I'll go first. We'll go first time versus now. This is my umpteenth time watching it. Every time I watch it, I loved this movie as a kid. I went like 15 years probably without seeing this movie. And then I just got into the habit probably about 3 years ago. I was like, I want to find this movie. At the time, it wasn't on Disney Plus or Hulu yet, and I'm like, why? This is a Disney movie. Why is this not on Disney Plus? So I went to the Hills and On. I went to Bed Bath Beyond, like literally Beyond, to
The
find this
Beyond
movie,
section.
and I could not find it. Just Amazoned it, $6.
You couldn't find this movie at Vintage Stock?
No.
Wow.
So I wanted a Blu-ray copy, but there's not even one overseas. So, and then since I found it 3 years ago, honestly, for the last 3 summers, I've watched it ever since. So,
And this is
I
oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, I'm interrupting. Go ahead.
I you know watched it the last 3 years ever since. So every time I watch this movie is every holds a special place in my heart. So Zach, what about you?
So I may have mentioned this on the show a couple weeks ago. I have never seen this movie before. This is a first time watch. Um, the only thing I knew about this movie, it was one of the opening trailers to the Lion King VHS that I would watch always as a kid. Um, you know, to preface the inside baseball, ironically, I'm not a baseball fan, so I'm not big on going to see like watching baseball themed films. Um, I heard, like you said, this is a childhood classic. A lot of people like this movie, X, Y, and Z. And when I watched it, yeah, I mean, it was fine. If that's how we're going to start the conversation, it's nowhere near a bad movie, but it's not one that I'm just like, wow, I can't wait to go back to watch that.
It is a remake.
Yeah,
It is a remake. I didn't know that until I researched it. Yeah.
Yeah, Jay, what about you?
Growing up, I grew up when this movie. With this movie, I was probably about 13, 14 years old when the movie came out. So, prime target age. It was part of Disney's little renaissance where they had that little run of like live action movies of like The Jungle Book, Operation Dumbo Drop, this, and the Honey I Shrunk the Kids movies and all that. That was whenever they had their they were going through the golden period of animated and live action hits. And this is during one of their live action hits. And I remember seeing like Zach said, it just wasn't even on the Lion King. I think it was any Disney release that came out around this time. This trailer was on that VHS, and I had probably seen the trailer more than I've seen the movie. But I've seen the movie quite a few times, and every time, even at my as we'll get into the review, even at my older age, I still find that little. I don't know if it's nostalgia or what, but the movie's still, there's some cheese to it. Don't get me wrong, but it's still a good family film.
Let's talk about that. This movie does have a lot of meaning into it, and then you look at the cast almost 30 years later, or it has been 30 years later, and it's like,
A
wow.
who's who.
Yeah, and you, I mean, even talking about the cast then, then the big names were Christopher Lloyd, Danny Glover, and Tony Danza. Um,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I don't know when we'll ever talk about him again. But let's talk about Tony Danza for a minute, because
I feel that there's a lot more of his character on the cutting room floor.
there is, but this is also one of those movies, if we can get to like serious talk, like there's a lot of dark story behind the Tony Danza character, Mel in this movie.
Is that
Um,
basically after he gets to live his glory, but then a few months he's going to die.
yeah, but he's also like, he hadn't played in the entire bit of the 90s. He was an 80s baseball player. He had a banged up arm. He got addicted to pain pills. He's
I
a
know. Okay, before we go any further, you just said it right there. This is a kid's film, and they're talking about an adult addicted to pain pills,
yeah,
and they are smoking constantly throughout this movie. That's
yeah,
one thing I noticed big time. Like every scene, somebody had a cigarette going.
yeah,
Back to
and
like sentimentals.
yeah, and like he's constantly smoking, and there is supposed to be some foul language involved, but Um, I think that's what gets me more now today as an adult watching this movie, is I'm focused in on the real life aspirations of this movie. Also with Joseph Gordon-Levitt's uh, character and his dad, and then just the whole sense of wanting a family. I think that is what hits hard most when rewatching this movie. Baseball comes, and that's what's weird. Angels comes secondary, baseball comes third in this movie. So to me, this is more of a coming of age.
Finding your family story.
Yeah, this is more of a coming of age faith movie than it is anything, because
Well, in order to believe
faith
in the angels, you have to
because
have faith as well.
because faith gets questioned. Um, everything is questioned in this movie other than baseball. So, um, yeah, this movie really like has just been standing out, and I'm glad we get to talk about it on a week like this. It's one of the biggest weeks of the year for our nation. 4th of July is just right around the corner. We are in the thick of things as far as baseball season go, if you guys follow baseball or if you're into baseball. So the hunt for October is right around the corner. So this is a fun movie that I thought we could talk about for the 4th of July. And then family, so taking it words right of Vin Diesel's mouth. Zach, what's some of the, or Jay? I feel like I'm going to be the one who's really in love with this movie, but what's some of the other bigger issues that you guys maybe have had with Angels in the Outfield? Not to mention how top notch Christopher Lloyd is in this.
I like I said, this is one of those Disney movies that I grew up with, that followed the formula of the '90s Disney movie. Insert sports team here, because they did a ton of Air Bud movies around this time, and Air Bud plays football, Air Bud plays hockey, Air Bud boxes some dude, and he does MMA. So I don't know, man. So the story itself is pretty formulaic. I don't mind it. It is more in a serious tone with what you're talking about, the theme of family, and that's like another movie that came out around the same time was Ninja Turtles, that has a lot of themes on family and father figures, as does this movie, and that's what truly hits home on that level, but I don't think they bring it home as much as it, because the adoption at the end comes kind of abruptly to me, because nowhere in the movie do I, as a child growing up, nor as an adult going in, do I see this man adopting these two children. I don't see that story leading that far. But maybe that's what I don't know. That's the faith part. He wanted a family, and he got it.
Yeah. And Tony Danza, like, I remember watching him all the time on Who's the Boss, those late Nick at Night movies or Nick at Night TV
Well,
shows.
I'm a little older, so I remember when they originally broadcast on ABC, and you know, it was crazy. He was a big star around this time.
But it's like, to me, he just played the perfect, on the tail end of his career, um, retrospect, if you will, baseball player.
I wish it would have been for a better movie, so that way maybe his film career would have took off a little bit more. Because I think he could have played this more dramatically as an aging baseball star in another film. But I get it, for a kids movie. It was pretty deep.
Yeah. Um,
Because I don't think our kids movies today deal with a guy that's dying because he smoked and he was bad and took drugs all of his life. And that was at the core of this movie, was that he's going to die soon, and watch this character live the time of his life before he finally does kick it. It's like, oh, this is a kids movie, right?
and that's what's crazy about it is there's the scene where Christopher Lloyd plays Al the Angel, and he's sitting there talking, and he's like, "Oh yeah, he's gonna get called up soon." And when you're a kid, I swear, I'm like, it doesn't hit you, but now you're like, "Oh, he's getting ready to," like
And
you
you
say,
just see him, and when they cut to the shot at him, it's like looking very down and decrepit on the sidelines. Like, he looks just like he's ready to go.
yeah.
You can see the desperation in the acting.
And I gotta say, you guys see the shirt, there's stuff behind me. I'm a huge sports fan, huge sports movie fan. I really like how this movie. You guys are gonna say it's not realistic at all, but I like how this
Movies with
movie.
angels helping a team out, no, not realistic at all, sir.
But I like how the ending of the movie. It's not like, oh, they win the World Series, the Angels help them win everything. Like,
I
it,
like that. I like that one line.
at the end of the day, it's not about that. It's about all the Angels have to do is make it to the playoffs. It's not about anything further than that. And legit, like they make it to the playoffs, and he gets adopted by the
But
coach.
but there's one line in the movie that makes it very aware to you, the viewer, and the characters in the story. What's at stake with these angels is that we don't help them with championships. That's on their own.
Yeah,
So that right there tells you we'll help you get there, but once you get there, it's up to you as a person or a team to climb that mountain yourself. Now that you have this newfound confidence, this newfound whatever it is, this camaraderie, just a better understanding and grasp of the game,
and speaking of like big time
and a few
stars around,
miracles.
speaking of big time stars around this time, Danny Glover, all time great, is in this movie, and he's the lead cast.
This
Playing.
is one of his first kid movies, because he was doing R-rated buddy flicks with Mel Gibson and Predator and stuff at this time.
Yeah, yeah. So, uh, Joseph Gordon-Levitt
Out of
as
all the,
as the young boy Roger, uh, fall in love with the kid. Do you not?
I grew up with this kid, because I was around 15 or 16 years old when Third Rock from the Sun came out. And I would watch, I've seen that show like 3 or 4 times all the way through. And he is absolutely hysterical on that show as the oldest alien on the crew, but he has to play the youngest member of the crew. So it's a very interesting dynamic that he has to play as a 15 and 16-year-old actor against, John Lithgow of all people. Have either of you seen that show?
I've seen a few episodes.
Mm-mm. No.
And then you have like the other cast members of like the side baseball players. Somebody who stole the show in the movie, Neil McDonough,
Yeah.
who
Yeah,
plays Bass. He's chewing the gum. He's nitwitted. You know, uh, Danny Glover calls him a jackass, and he's like, "No, I'm a pitcher."
Well, I found it funny is that I just seen him in a dramatic role about a couple weeks ago in the last rodeo,
Yeah,
and he was playing an aging grandfather in that's trying to win
yeah,
some
he's
money
still
for his grandson. He even played M. Bison in a terrible version of Street Fighter, but hey,
yeah. They're and him and the two Hispanic baseball players are just going back and forth throughout the whole movie, and it's so funny, especially after the and one of the scenes I want to talk about is after the national anthem. You get two hilarious bits, and it's George Knox wiping his eye, and Adrian Brody comes up to him and starts talking about how no, how emotional he gets after that song, and he's like, "Drop dead, I got sunscreen in my eye," and I'm like, this is a Disney movie, right? He's telling somebody to go drop dead.
well, just in the span of a few, I'm sorry, Zach, we'll let you talk, but they're in the span of a few minutes, Homeboy ends up laying out his picture, and then he lays out a reporter. He has a very big anger problem, and by today's standards, would be canceled pretty quickly.
Yeah, but they were flirting around with the idea like back in the 90s and 2000s, the baseball manager always getting ejected and stuff, which is fun. Um, Zach, what about you? What'd you think of the surrounding cast of a cast of Who's Who's?
Yeah, I'm kind of glad you guys are just taking the reign on this because, like,
He
it's not
hated
that it's not that. No, I didn't hate it. It's just the the positivities, the positive. Well, to answer your question, I was surprised at how many um known people today are in this film. Like you said, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Matthew McConaughey, Adrian Brody. When you said that originally, it's like no, he's not, and then like automatically I recognized him. Neil McDonough, the bigger set dude who I don't know what his role like in baseball, what he does. He just stands behind the
He's the,
pitcher
the pit,
or
yeah, he's the catcher.
the catcher. I thought that was Tom Sizemore originally, but
Around that time, that guy seemed to always get the goofy, tall, goofy guy roles, fat guy roles in the Disney flicks and Disney light flicks back in the day. I don't know if you remember that or not.
Yeah,
yeah. So I mean, like the cast is very impressive when you look back on it now. My gripe about this, I feel like I'm gonna get hate for this because like I know it's a kids movie. I get it. It's a kids movie. The tonal like mesh up of the like you have like you said a very like dark thematic tones with being a foster kid and like his dad basically giving him up, and just him going on his bike like bike rider style and just left the movie juxtaposed to like the Three Stooges like baseball comedy like of that nature of the film. It really I initially I originally thought when I watched this was like a Disney Channel original film originally. But it did get a theatrical release, like you said. But the tone of the film just kept going back and forth, and in my opinion, it didn't work for me.
Oh,
Honestly.
okay. I think I can understand that total shift for you right for a little bit. It's because this may be over describing a wrong description of it. Was there was two clashes of styles being told here. There was one we want to make a movie about angels, and there was a lot of probably drugs being used on set to kind of keep this movie together. You know,
Yeah.
I grew up in the '80s when every damn movie that came out had like a cocaine budget. Okay, so and it didn't matter if it was a Disney flick or if it was the hard R rated Paramount movie that's coming out that summer. The
well,
Exorcist. Everybody had
well,
a drug budget.
I was looking at this, and $30 million to me did seem like a pretty big
Oh,
budget.
for a '90s flick. Oh, this was
Yeah,
definitely because this was around the time that Kevin Smith was getting $5 million to make
yeah,
Mallrats.
right.
Yeah. I mean, I get what there's like the thematic tone of the film of you having faith and getting through the hard times and trying to get to where you want in life without having, just to, Danny Glover has a great line of like, you can't go through life meeting everybody and expecting them to let you down, that type of thing. I get what they're doing, but when you have Neil McDonough playing you know, Ed from Ed, Edd n Eddy, it's kind of like it's a weird, like I said, it's just a weird tonal shift when
I was able to buy all the angel gags and all the side character gags, except the time whenever the ball was flying all over the ball field during the error scene. Whenever like there was like 25 errors or whatever like that,
Oh,
and nobody could capture the ball. That's the cheesiest scene of the entire movie to me. That pulls me out. But the rest of the miracles and everything, the throwing of the ball fast, his arms are being warmed up because of angels massaging his back, or the rest of it can be believable. But that, out of all of the sight gags that they want us to believe from the angels, that's the stupidest one.
I forgot that some of the budget probably went to the rights for the baseball teams.
Oh, I
Because
guarantee it.
because the NFL does the same thing. If you don't pay them rights, you can't use any of the signatures, the names, or anything in the film. So that's why when you see a lot of baseball or football movies, they're just generic names and teams, but they actually used real MLB teams and names in this movie. So I forgot that's probably where the budget went to, because they used all the teams and all the names. So yeah, that's probably where the budget went to, as the real names for
What's
the
the
MLB.
what about a movie came out around this time called Rookie of the Year, where a kid breaks his arm and he learns to throw baseball super fast. So like it's the Minnesota Giants.
Yeah,
Picked
see,
him up.
that's a
Is
fake.
that?
That's
But
a
no,
fake.
the one, not Minnesota Giants, but Minnesota Twins. A big name, that actual team picks him up.
Yeah, if they use names like the Minnesota Twins, then yeah, that's a real MLB name.
Well, I know that, but I'm saying that there's a movie that it came out around. What's the budget of that, Zach? If you don't mind looking up that.
Because like
Rookie of the Year.
Yes, 1995.
because like
or
the same thing
96.
with what's the Tom Cruise? Show me the money. What's the name?
Jerry Maguire with the
Jerry
NFL.
Maguire.
Yeah, they spend a lot of money for the NFL for NFL rights and names. Any given Sunday, they did not spend the money on NFL
Damn.
rights.
Rookie of the Year came out in '93, so the year prior to this, and that had a budget of not too bad, a budget of 10 to 14 million.
That's not too bad for 1993.
No,
But also you got to look at it. Rookie of the Year probably didn't have a budget also like Danny Glover,
No.
Christopher Lloyd.
no.
Christopher Lloyd at the time was just probably less than 10 years away from Back to the Future.
No, he was not even that, bro, because they made the sequel to Back to the Future 3 in 1990. And
So that was done.
Yeah, there you go.
But he was doing My Favorite Martian around this time as well.
Yeah.
Another Disney movie.
Yeah.
Hey, I like that movie.
I do like that one too.
That's based on a 1960s TV show.
Yep.
I will say, like, the main.
We even got Flubber around this time.
Yep.
Yeah, Flubber.
Disney was on a roll, weren't they?
Well, this came out the same year. This came out, I think, a month after The Lion King. So that was the same year.
So 94.
Yep.
Excuse me.
Fun fact: does anyone
And the Santa Claus came out that year.
Later that year? Yeah. Fun fact: does anyone know, without looking it up, what this movie came out on the same day with?
Oh man,
Probably JFK. No, JFK was 93.
it's not Jurassic Park, is it?
No, Jurassic was 93. That was June 23rd of 93.
Yep.
94.
Natural Born Killers.
Nope. Is that your guess, Jay?
Yeah, it was 1990.
Mine's gonna be Forrest Gump.
Forrest Gump did come out that year, and it's actually I have the box office, the top 5 films of that week. The movie Angels in the Outfield came out against that same day was True Lies with James Cameron. The top 5 movies of that weekend. Number 5 was Angels in the Outfield. Oh, I'm sorry. Number 5 was Speed. Number 4 was Angels in the Outfield. Number 3 was The Lion King. Number 2 was Forrest Gump, and number 1 was True Lies.
Tell me that's not that those 5 movies can encompass one generation, and we're only in 94. Am I right or wrong?
That's funny you say that, because Speed made it to our emails today.
Oh, did it now? What a perfect segue to the email segment.
That is interesting. You guys want to talk about emails before we get to
we can do some email talking.
All right. So last week I asked the big question. I asked if, listeners wanted to pick a movie that we talk about that is not I Know What You Did Last Summer. Please mention it. So I think people are being funny, but Haley said, I still know what you did last summer. Um,
It's not a bad sequel. I'll give it that. Brandy's pretty
and,
hot in that movie.
the director did say Brandy's coming back for this movie too.
Oh, she is.
She is, yeah. Jack said F1.
Yeah.
Kennedy said Notorious,
The one with the Notorious B.I.G. movie.
the Big movie.
I've seen it, but it's been a while.
Sierra also says F1.
Okay, so
Henry voted, and not this isn't really a vote, but Henry emailed Old Boy.
which one?
I
He
think
just
the
said
original.
he just said Spike Lee.
Oh, God, the remake. I haven't even seen the original, but I know to stay away from the remake.
Alex says, since you guys talked about a baseball movie, how about you guys review Fever Pitch?
Oh yeah, that's a good one. We almost did that a couple of
And
years
that's the
ago.
one with Jimmy Fallon and Drew Barrymore.
Drew
Yeah.
Barrymore, yeah.
That's a good one.
And Lauren says Speed. So,
Wow,
Barry,
that was a great trade off.
Barry said, how about any of the Oceans movies? The ones with George Clooney.
That's good.
No.
Michael says the remake of Snow White. I really want to hear y'all debate and argue.
Oh, fuck. See, I've tried to go this whole episode without saying a cuss word, and what they get out of me when they mention Snow White. Because I know deep down it would be a very interesting conversation to hear three guys' perspective on this movie with all that surrounds it.
That's true. Derek says, since it just hit HBO Max, how about Minecraft?
I'll give you my first review of it. I sat there and watched the trailers and then passed out because I drank too much at the showing I went to.
Valerie says, how about any of the Bad Boys movies?
We did Bad Boys for Life, didn't we?
Mm-mm.
We haven't done any of the Bad Boys movies?
We were
I'd
going
be
to
completely after doing the first one.
we were going to do Bad Boys 3, but after we did Birds of Prey, COVID happened.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Jackson says, how about any of the Rambo movies? I loved you guys' recent watch review of the new Rambo movie.
You remember when we went and did Rambo Last Blood? We just
That's what he's talking about. Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah.
Jackson, thank you for listening for all these years.
Yeah.
I wasn't a part of that show, but you guys entertained that episode.
Omar says, how about Monsters Ball?
Oh God, that would be
Heath Ledger, Billy Bob Thornton, some Halle Berry.
Yeah.
we'd have to have we'd have to set a set of rules for that one. We really would.
Gerald says, how about Batman and Robin? LOL.
Oh, hell no.
And
Actually, I won't be on that show just because of family things, so you guys can pick whatever the hell you want.
yeah. And Perry said Brokeback Mountain, since you guys talked about it last week.
You know what? That would be an interesting conversation, like I said, 20 years later. So,
Have you guys ever done The Craft? That's a
Mm-mm.
fun one.
Nope.
Teenage goth flick.
if you
Let's
guys
not
want to do
dissect
Batman
that.
and Robin to get it out of the way, it will not hurt my feelings.
Oh hell
please.
no, no! You are going to be involved in the torture. You are going to come from you're going to come from that third person point of view because me and him grew up with Batman. We accepted this shit. So you're going to have to come in from that outside point of view, be like, oh God, guys, how did you live with this at the time? We've lived it for over almost 30 years, bro. This is what we've had to deal with.
I might have to fake a car accident that weekend.
Oh no, you have to. We've experienced this trauma since the summer of '97. You can experience it with this almost 30 years plus later. You can experience that trauma with this. I will hold out for Batman and Robin to have Zach on it. He has to be on that. There has to be an episode that he has to want me on too, and I'll be there. We'll talk it. But oh yeah.
So some of the other scenes that I do want to mention, I think one of you guys talked about, the angel scenes maybe being a little hokey. How about the scene where Danny Glover goes to the different players that was touched by an angel? See what I did there? And like Matthew McConaughey being lifted up, and he was like, "Felt like somebody was lifting me in the air."
That
And
was his
then,
story arc. You know, he was
yeah,
the first one. He was the first one to
he
have
was the first one.
What's interesting is that like he's a very much like probably C or D character. Like he's in the movie a lot, but he has more lines in Dazed and Confused than he does in this.
He's
He has,
more of a reaction shot guy in this movie.
but
Yeah.
he's more of the athlete actually out there catching the baseball in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Uh,
he's the one that gets the more reaction time when they want to cut to somebody in the dugout that looks interesting. You know, they have, you know, this roster to choose from, and they keep giving it to McConaughey.
And then the big guy Trisket, he's like, I don't know, it felt funny. It might have been the chili dogs that day or something.
But you got to sit there with and think with baseball being with any sport. Juan should know this. You know, even football players get weird with their football. You know,
Suspicious.
thing. Yeah. You know, did Homeboy really have like 3 hot dogs before, you know, each game after that because he got that home run or what?
Yeah.
You know, that become, and they could have added that. There could be a cut of the movie where Homeboy, every game, he'd have his 3 hot dogs before each game, and that they would make it.
And him being a bigger guy, he's probably a designated hitter, and he's a catcher anyway, so he doesn't have to do a lot of running. So he probably does have 3 chili dogs before the game. So
Yeah, that's true.
baseball is one of those different sports.
Okay, we haven't sat there and spoke of him yet. Every '90s film had a kind of swarmy, assholey, some villain from the past that's still in the present, haunting their present, and they're trying to overcome villain. And the villain in this story is, believe it or not, the radio announce guy, the guy that gives us, the audience, the information. He has to be such kind of an ass to us, even to the audience, while giving us information. We're like, thanks for the information, but dude, you still suck.
J.O. Sanders.
And
His
you know, I
character's
thought
name-
that
Who, I got to take a time out. We're on the sports topic real quick. Did anybody see the Dallas Cowboys Netflix documentary trailer today?
I scrolled past it. I did not watch it.
Oh my, goosebumps.
Are you gonna watch it?
I'm gonna binge it just like I did the McMahon documentary.
Recent watches. I went and watched that, and I watched a 7-hour documentary on Kentucky wrestling. I forgot to mention those.
Just so you guys know, just to preview it now, this time when we do our top 10 of the year next year, that Dallas Cowboys documentary will be number 1. I'll just go ahead and predict that.
Hey, as long as it sits there and says in the opening titles, which you counted as NFL films present as a actual film.
Yeah.
Or
the sportscaster's name is Ranger Wilder. Doesn't that just sound like a douchey name to begin with?
Ranch Wilder.
Ranch Wilder.
It sounds like something to eat that you would buy at Sam's.
Exactly.
Can I have that? Can I have that Ranch Wilder?
Go to some backwoods restaurant. Be like, I have the Ranch Wilder, please. But no, he's a good villain. You know, and we know that there's animosity because we're given a backstory because he used to be a past player in Danny Glover's past, and he done something that was really an asshole thing to do for a player back in that time, even in the time that they were playing it. And you know, one had one idea and one had the other idea. What was good and bad.
Deontay also emailed Small Soldiers.
Oh, dude, that movie's awesome. So awesome.
I haven't seen that movie in years.
No.
Major Chip Hazard reporting.
It makes me laugh. That would be a fun conversation because it makes me laugh that they actually got Tommy Lee Jones to play one of the toy characters.
No.
For Gorgon. Isn't that what they say?
Yeah.
The Gorgonites.
Yeah. See, that movie was awesome.
Yeah, that movie was awesome.
Got Phil Hartman, you know, Kirsten Dunst.
Oh shit, yeah. Kirsten Dunst is in that. I forgot. I don't know. That might be our
Directed by Joe Dante.
You know, when you guys think of like, it doesn't even have to be Disney sports movies, but if you guys had to pick like just some of your top sports movies, like where, I know you guys are not big fans of Angels in the Outfield, but does it matter? And honestly, this is a good question because I don't think either of you guys are really big sports fans. So when a sports
Okay, here's the thing.
because hold on, let me get to the question because we're about to do another sports movie next month with We Are
We Are
Marshall. Does it matter the sport of the movie with you guys, or is it just all about the story?
The story with me because I've sat there and I've seen movies about golf. I've said, I'm not even saying Happy Gilmore. I've seen other movies about golf. I've seen dozens of movies about football, um, tons of movies about baseball. One of my favorite movies of all times is Field of Dreams, and it's completely about baseball and nothing to do with baseball.
Yeah, that's a good
And
movie.
there's also other films out there that that are not even just there's a movie that's about ice skating, I Tanya with Margot Robbie. That
Yep,
movie was absolutely hilarious. It was about figure skating.
great
Come
movie.
on, I
Blade,
I
Blade,
don't care. The one, okay, Blades of Fury or whatever that was with Will Ferrell and homeboy from Napoleon Dynamite, where they play a mixed
Blade,
paired.
Blades of Glory.
Yeah, I didn't care that, dude. I don't. If it looks cool, I'll watch it. I've seen Dirty Dancing probably 30 times. I look at dancing as a sport. If it looks cool, I'll check it out. I don't care the sport.
Zach,
Yeah,
what about you?
I agree with Jay. As long as the story is good, one of my favorite sports movies. I'll probably get some flack for this, but is Radio with Cuba Gooding Jr.
I thought you were gonna say Creed.
Oh, yeah, Creed. Yeah, Creed is one of my favorite movies.
Some
But
people,
that's
I don't know why some of those movies don't like when you think of sports movies, you don't think of Rocky, but I automatically think of Rocky.
But
yeah, and that's a funny thing because like I agree, Creed is a sports movie, but I don't think of it as a sports movie. I think of it as like it,
But that's weird though.
it's
yeah.
definitely it's a boxing movie.
I mean, I literally, and we can watch this.
Raging Bull is probably my favorite sports movie outside Remember the Titans.
I literally went and saw a sports movie this weekend with F1, and the movie was so good it kind of made me want to like check out F1 racing. I mean, that's kind of like the power. If a sports movie can do that, where like it makes you want to look at the real thing, I think it's done its job. First
So
off,
far, I haven't seen The Big Green. I know that's one of the Disney movies that I'm missing out in my Disney, Rolodex. The movie about the green, the Big Green soccer team from back in 1994 or five that had the same fat kid that played in the Sandlot as the goalie,
Zach,
and
what?
that was one I didn't get to see growing up.
we
Yeah,
talked about the Iron Claw. What last year, or the year before?
Yeah,
It's about
that was
wrestling.
about wrestling.
Yeah,
As long as the drama and stuff like that is good, I look at it like this: it's no different. As long as a movie can be enjoyed if it's a sports film, as long as the rules are presented, kind of, that you have to present the rules clearly and let the people in the audience know that don't know that such and such means this, such and such means that. Basically, you have to set up the game in a first couple, 2 or 3 scenes, and then just go with it. And, like you said, like when we started this conversation, the last thing we said, the last thing that's really in this movie is the baseball itself. The baseball don't matter because we don't follow them. We follow them through a short montage on their way to victory. What we follow is what leads up to the Angels being there and setting us up to the Angels being there and helping them out through the season. But other than that, we don't get nothing else as far as baseball goes.
yeah, I would agree. I mean, you're probably right, Johnny. Creed is probably my favorite sports movie just because. But if I had to name something else, Radio and Seabiscuit about horse racing, that one was good.
See, like you said it right there, it's about horse racing. I don't find horse racing particularly interesting at all unless I have a stake in the horse. But
before we move
pun
on,
intended.
before we move on to the next round of the show, let's give a mention to House of Fears. It's Oklahoma City's haunted house attraction. It starts Saturdays, starting September 27th to October 27th. It'll run Saturdays from 7 p.m. to 11:30 p.m., Saturdays and Sundays. Follow them on Facebook at Nightmare House of Fears. $15 for adults, $10 for kids. Um, if you guys are into haunted attractions, it's coming up. We're just around the corner from spooky season, so go check them out on Facebook and get ready to scream. I don't know if you guys like haunted houses, but they're a good friend of the show, and we will start talking about them as that time of year gets closer. So,
Also, something else about the I know what you did last summer episode. You could save that for spooky season because that should be out on Blu-ray by then.
That's true. So, um, man, yeah, but Angels in the Outfield, guys.
Why don't we just do this? We know it'll be me and Juan that night. Why don't we just, whenever we sit there and whenever you tune into us live or even later on or however you listen to us, you just tune in and whatever you hear that night, that's what we're talking about. We'll decide then.
So you're talking about like a mystery episode, like they won't know what we're
Yeah,
talking about until.
exactly. It's just like, you know what?
I was just going to throw up a poll on social media.
Okay.
So
I'm down for F1 as of right now.
I mean, you can we can like, since it's just going to be us, we can gather 8 movies, and well, we don't have that much time. We only have 3 weeks, so we can gather up 6 movies and just have a good old fashioned poll.
Whatever sounds good to me, man.
So let's dig into maybe some of our favorite scenes. Zach, you want to go first? You have any favorite scenes?
Yeah, the winning montage. I think that's a very Disney trope, but I think it's done really well here. The first time you meet Al, Christopher Lloyd's character, is a great opening sequence, or not scene, but just introduction to that character. And I mean, like I said, my problem with it was just the tonal shift from every other scene. But when the sports conference, when Danny Glover is just like, look, you can call it angels, you can call it faith, you can call it whatever you want. We're a team, we're going to win this. It is what it is, and they kind of get the whole community behind their side, and that's a very uplifting thing to do in that this type of film. So those are some of mine.
But also kind of want to sit there and say there's a near the end of the movie where he has to go for the interview and he's being signed over. His parental rights from his dad is being signed over to the state. It's supposed to be a road game, right? And he's supposed to be there and communicate if the Angels are there. So does that sit there mean that he doesn't see them? Then things can't be interfered with, and nothing's gonna be interfered with, or what's the rules here in this situation? Am I overthinking?
No, I just interpret that at what was the question? I'm sorry. Say the question again, Jay.
Okay. The day that there was supposed to be a game, the day that he goes and gets his rights signed over to the state.
Oh yeah.
And they end up losing the game. Is it because he wasn't there to see the Angels, or were there any Angels to begin with that were going to show up that day anyways? What was the whole?
I interpret that as in that moment he lost faith, and that's why they lost.
Okay.
I could be wrong, but that's
that makes perfect sense, because after this scene he does become a little spiteful, even though after seeing all these miracles and angels and talking to him, he comes pretty cynical pretty quickly after losing his father, and it's like, okay, and that's pretty tough for a kid, because sit there and think, as a kid, you get one of the biggest decisions you could ever confront is that this boy's at that age where he's going to remember this for the rest of his life, and if he dwells on it, this could shape his entire worldview and turn him from a good person or a bad person. And there's angels interfering, and I don't know, looking too much into it.
Well, no, you're not wrong, because I mean, like, there is a scene later in the movie where Danny Glover says, like, he doesn't say it outright, but he says, you don't want to end up like me, because that I was kind of in your situation at one point. And that's why he's kind of like very smug and just very spiteful about all different parts of life.
Yeah.
He felt that life was taken away from him because of that accident involving the rodeo guy.
Yeah.
He wanted something else, but wanted to win at something else.
This is true. Jay, what about you?
I just liked any time that Danny Glover had to sit there and kind of play off Joseph Gordon-Levitt. It's like, no, seriously, bro, there's angels out there. And he's just like, are you for real, kid? And
I don't, psycho kid.
Exactly. It's like they put me near this kid, and this just like, what would a coach in real life go, "You've really seen angels out there, kid?" Would show up at a kid's house, and how could how this movie actually play over real life? It wouldn't. We all hopefully know that, but if it did happen in real life, it would just be a weird story. Angels in the Outfield, the documentary. I'm calling it now. That's how they're going to remake it. It's going to be a documentary coming from the Angels' perspective. They're like, we're going to help them win, y'all.
It'll be a 10-hour part 10-part Ken Burns documentary about that.
Hey, I'd watch a 10-hour documentary about Angels trying to help back a baseball team. Hell, they could do a football team. They have multiple seasons. One of my favorite shows, or seasons of a show, I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but it has the kid that played Harry Potter, and he plays an angel, and they stick him in prayer requests, and he just answers like one or two miracles. Yeah, miracle worker. That the first season was perfect TV. I think.
The funny thing is, Jay, you laugh, but they did have 2 TV sequels to this: Angels in the End Zone and Angels in the Infield.
Oh shoot!
Yeah,
I mean,
Christopher Lloyd is in the Angels in the End Zone.
Yeah,
I think I may have actually seen him growing up.
And David Allen Greer's in the second and the third one.
My favorite scenes would probably be the scenes where he's talking to the kid, like, we need to come up with a way, and let me know if you see an angel. That I thought that was funny. We didn't talk about him, but anytime there's scenes with David about like the assistant getting the kids nachos or the soda, like those scenes are just hilarious.
I love that he's wearing like basically a protective suit over his actual suit.
The raincoat.
And multiple times they sit there cuts reaction shots, and he's got different substances on him: nacho cheese, ketchup, mustard, chili, and it's all over him. Like, these kids just cannot eat without making a huge mess.
Yeah.
And I think that tells a story visually.
Yeah. And then I think a scene that kind of doesn't really, I don't think we mentioned yet, but like, the scene where he's in the back and he's just chewing them out. He's letting them know, like, you guys don't even know how to lose. And he flips the table of, food over, and the big guy's like, bummer.
But he was upset that it wasn't the right salami when they first got in the locker room, bro.
Yeah. And then the scene where they were talking about the national anthem, and he's like, it's about a Mexican guy the whole time. Jose. Like, that is just hilarious. And to me, this movie it makes me laugh out loud a few times. So it's honestly good to sit back and just watch a movie that does that. That's just kind of genuine and pure sometimes, I guess.
But it's honestly, do you think Disney would make such a Christian-based movie today?
I think secretly they would. Or I mean, I don't even think secretly. I think they would.
Would they try to reboot this, or even try to redo this for Disney Plus?
I'm sure they will eventually.
Yeah.
Because didn't they do, or is that Amazon that did? Didn't they do a TV show of A League of Their Own? Didn't they do that on Amazon Prime?
They did one on Prime, I believe, but they did also do a Mighty Duck reunion season at 1 or 2 or 3. They had like 1 or 2 or 3 seasons of the Mighty Ducks.
Oh yeah.
So it'll happen eventually.
Yeah.
But even sit there and look at like Disney also produced through Touchstone. They produced Sister Act, which is a movie about Catholicism and being a nun. And they've been trying to get a reboot of that or a sequel to that off the ground for years.
Let's do star rating. 1 out of 5. Zach, go first.
Originally, I was going to give it a 2.5, but talking with you guys and just kind of reminding myself, it's a kids movie. It's a Disney film. It's from the 90s. It does have good cast. It does have a good message to it. It has a lot of well-known people in today's film world. Christopher Lloyd is, doing Christopher Lloyd things in this movie, which is enjoyable. I'm going to give it a 3. It's not a bad movie. It's not as I say, it's not a good, it's not a bad. It's fine. So,
I mean, I'm being honest. I'm right there with you. I don't think Just because I love this movie, I'm still going right down the middle. I'm gonna give this movie a 3.5. The cast, the scene still makes me certain scenes still make me laugh out loud. It's genuine. It hits me in the feels every time I still watch it. And my big thing is always rewatchability. So like if a movie still has that much investment in me every time I watch it, then it's always going to get a good grade for me. So 3.5. Jay?
No, I go 3.5 as well, just for the simple fact of that watching it back as an adult and seeing how much this movie leaned into faith, which as a and not only that Christian faith, or and that was the basic standard, praying to God and trying to help form something, give Him something, and then using that prayer request and turning it into a film and not a comedy either. A legit if you're a faith-based person, you will understand and find this movie to be interesting and not offensive. It's done in a slapsticky way where to look nonchalant that these human beings are pulling off these miracles, but it's not being played for laughs that way.
I will agree with you, Jay. One thing I appreciated it was this was not a preachy faith movie. It was very overlayered. It wasn't hit you over the head with it, but it did a balancing act of that.
And I guarantee you, there's probably like different levels of like understanding of religion if wanted to go into it thinking of that. But conceptually, it's just set against the Christian faith or faith itself of praying to a God. It doesn't mention anybody as God, but God itself, and praying and wishing and hoping for something, and therefore here's the outcome, and done in a kids movie way, which is very hard if you ask me.
Yeah.
That's a very hard thing to do because many times if you wanted to sit there and pull things out, you could do many different allegorical different situations with the baseball team, with prophets and stuff like that. But it's whatever.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's Angels in the Outfield. I think that's a good way to end it. That's a good point to bring up, Jay. Very very good point. Um, Next week, man, the keep on just keeps going. Next week is insane. Jurassic Park Rebirth is next week. Should be a fun episode. I think anything is going to be better after the bad taste Dominion left at least in my mouth.
I was gonna say, how was the Dominion on the rewatch?
Terrible.
He gave it a 1 from that I could tell.
Yeah, I gave it a 1. I gave it a 1 out of 5.
Like I said, going in, as long as it's better than Dominion and no locusts are involved, we should be fine.
In 2 weeks, we're going to be talking about James Gunn's entry into the DC and Superman. That's in 2
start
weeks.
of something supposed to be very, very big, ground shaking, earth starting, or ground.
I've already seen terrible reviews for it, so I'm not getting that much into it. But I'm still excited.
I've seen them release enough clips of this movie from they've all of them have said this is within the first 20 to 30 minutes before the plot kicks in, and these are just tone setters.
Yeah,
is that a lot of this movie has not been revealed yet to the public.
Then
the kaiju fighting scene is at the beginning of the film, and that's how Superman's kind of kicked off.
In 3 weeks, whether it be this or not, we will talk some kind of movie in 3 weeks. But right now we have I Know What You Did Last Summer slated for the fourth week of July. And then the final Tuesday of the month, we're talking Fantastic Four, First Steps, jam-packed month. I cannot wait to get into these movies and just have a conversation about movies with you guys. So,
get your tickets, get your popcorn, get excited.
Yeah. So, anything you guys want to add to Angels in the Outfield before we head back to the Jurassic World next week?
It's a fun little family film. Go out, check it out, enjoy yourself, and don't try to overthink it like we did.
So, before we finish out, guys, like I said, we're on our way to the theater. It's going to be a jam-packed month. What are you guys expecting from Jurassic World? Zach, are you like me and you're just like, hey, as long as it's not Dominion, I'll be okay?
Yeah, I hate the. I've seen a lot of the main reviews have come out. And it's got a lot of mixed reviews. Some people thought it was awesome. Some people thought it was crap.
I've basically seen it's mid.
I just say, as long as it's not Dominion, don't expect Jurassic Park the original, and go in and have a fun time. And you should have it's a summer blockbuster, and that's what it should be.
So that's all. Jay, what about you? Are you on the same boat?
Yeah, it's just one of those. It's one of my least anticipated movies of the summer. I'll say that.
Fair enough. Same. Honestly, after what I saw with Dominion, I was so shocked that we were gonna get uh a sequel that fast, and here we are, just literally a few years later, and we're
And they're trying
already
to rename it Rebirth, like it's supposed to be something new, and we're going in a new direction. We're going to do new
yeah,
things.
and we're
It's going to
already
be all new. We have something new planned out. It's like,
yeah, and we're already talking a new Jurassic Park movie. So it is what it is. We're going to talk about it. We'll discuss it next week. Jurassic Park or Jurassic World Rebirth on a new episode of the Cinema Movie Podcast. Appreciate everybody's emails. Super glad you guys emailed us in. Continue to send us in those emails. I will put up a poll in the next few days, and we will have a poll bracket to see what movie we talk about that fourth week of July. So until then, guys, great week. Can't wait to talk movies again with you next week on another new episode of the Cine-Men Movie